we're good.
So, thank you all, first of all, for volunteering for this task. It has a heavy responsibility, and we really do appreciate your time and your willingness to volunteer to read our applicants in this grant year. Yeah, that's fine. The timetable, which a couple more people walk into the room, we're just getting started on the PowerPoint and what we're going to cover. The table of our grant review season, and it is a season because it happens over several weeks and months. Right now, we're at the reviewers orientation for March 21st. The grants that you will be reading. You can, if you're here in person on Utah, take your grants to read with you today. We have bags for you, so you can take them with you today. Or if online, we will get those mailed out to you today. So we'll have them in the next couple of days to start reading them. The timetable is by April 27th. The score rubric is back to us. So that's the only thing that you're going to return. You're going to get your grants in the mail and several things in the mail, but the only thing you need to return to us is the rubric, the scoring rubric, and your comments. So, distribution of grants to reviewers, basically how that will work. You're going to have a packet in the mail, or if you're here in person, you're going to receive your packet today. A copy of RFP, scoring rubric, of interest policy form, and actual completed application that was submitted by our potential grantees. The application can be several hundred pages, the majority of which is documentation consideration. So it may look thick, but a lot of that is truly the documentation for the considerations. Get these 4 things with you either today or in the mail in a couple of days.
Presentation are incorporation documents, some of the legal documents that we ask them to submit so that we have it on record.
Right. So
it's a lot.
Accounting, audits, so
all that.
And shortly. The responsibility as a reviewer, when you get your packet, the first thing you want to do is read the request for proposal. This is what we put out to solicit grant applications. So you want to read through the request for proposal. It's got a couple different sections, a couple different pieces. There's a resources section, section 1 and 2. There's a budget instruction. It's just a couple different pieces. So read through the RFP. And then you want to read through the score rubric for each of the selection criteria. So you want to read the definition, read the evaluation indicators. This is all in the scoring rubric. So you want to know what you're reading to look for, basically. And you mark little X's on the rubric. You can kind of keep track of what you're looking for and what's missing, you think, and what's not missing. And that will help you basically come up with a score for that section. Each section, there are 13 sections, 13 considerations. Each of them will have a point value and a score. So you refer to your RFP, which contains all of the detail on the overview and the 13 considerations.
The overview also has a point to it.
As well as the 13 considerations. And then you're going to put all of your comments, all of your scores on the scoring rubric, and that's what we get back.
There we go.
During the review period, send your questions to Bio@Atunji, and there's her email address. Scoring rubric and all your comments back to us. I would suggest making a copy, just as we need to ask you questions or follow-up questions, what you scored or certain comments. If we have questions, if we need to get in touch with you, it might be helpful just to have a copy for yourself.
I'm right in the middle of I'm doing a web conference right now.
Do
I just
please,
wanted to, let me deal with that later, okay? Okay, bye-bye.
Worked next to her for years. All right.
So, also, just to keep in mind, as you're getting your packet of materials today with all the RFP and the application, after you turn your scoring rubric back to us, and we'll need back the conflict of interest policy form, just all of the other materials that you've received. So destroy application, the 300-page application, destroy the pages, destroy everything except return to us the score. We also do need the conflict of interest policy form sent back to us as well. Sign, please.
That's the important part.
So the next slide. This is just an example.
There we go.
That's an example of what the conflict of interest policy form is. It basically says that you have no conflict of interest with any financial interest in the organization in which you're reading for. So if you could name, sign your name, date it, and return that to us as well, just so we can have that on file. That would be helpful.
We tried to distribute the grants so that there would be no conflict.
Yeah.
But if there's an unknown conflict of interest, we need to be made aware of it. So because of who we know is there, we sort of distribute them appropriately, but it's a secret relationship that we know about.
I didn't have that.
All right, so now Melissa is going to get a little bit more into the scoring rubric and look at a basic example of how to score, how to look at a section, and how to score it.
For the scoring guide, is it only to be mailed or is it okay to send back through email?
Does it have to be confidential in any way, shape, or form? Do we need to hear asking the bigs in the room?
That would be me. I would prefer if you send it out and we have a self-addressed pretty stamped envelope for you to send it to us. We would prefer it not be by way of email.
We are supplying you with the envelopes to mail back. So postage is postage. I know if you're like me, you rarely have like anything go to the post office, but getting a stamp on a letter.
A question in the room you didn't hear was, can we scan an email back the scoring rubric? And the answer is we would prefer you to put it in the self-addressed stamped envelope that we close in your mailing of your packet. So please don't scan and email it back. Snail mail it back to us.
Or if you want to come visit us, you can drop it off. But all right. So this is what the front page of the scoring rubric looks like. So that you have a little place for all of your totals and you have some general comments. Completely for, so we know which scoring rubric goes with what RFP. That's important to us. We want to get a nameless rubric back. Believe me, I've seen that. And when you scoring rubric, this is not so clear, but I'll try to make it a little bit more digestible. In the narrative section, where grantees were asked to write a description of their proposed programming, we gave them some criteria in a box. And you'll see that when you review the sections 1 and 2 of the RFP. So they have a question, they have the criteria that we ask them to be sure to include when they're addressing that prompt. And then we have underneath documentation listed, and in parentheses, you'll see that there's required documentation. So scoring rubric, and I'm going to just X out the participants right now, sorry guys, and that. We'll do questions in a minute. Scoring rubric, it corresponds, the criteria exactly corresponds. You can put checks as you go along to see if they included all of those criteria. As well as checks on the documentation that is required under the documentation section in the scoring rubric. So they correspond equally. We ask you to double check that all required documentation is in with each of the conditions. And the question is rewritten, and then there is a rubric of points. So from 0 to 4 points is a vague description of programming that is supplied. Partial description 5 to 7 for this one because it's a 10-point question. And then a thorough description is 8 to 10 points. And so as you go through checking things off, you can figure out where you are in the 0 to 10. Not every condition is 10 points. When you see your scoring rubric, you will see that there are a lot of 5, so small there, 15, and a 10. So they're not all weighted the same. So we'll take a look at what the point weight is for each section as you go through. So that's basically it. You have the rubric, and then you have the condition sections that have, for those of you in the room, I'm holding it up. Each one is lined out with their criteria. So that's basically it. They should match up, and just documentation is in a separate section. So you might have like 3 piles of things that go through your RP. You'll have your rubric, you'll have your consideration, and you'll have your documentation that you can match up your documentation with each consideration question. Okay. At the end as well. So I would offer 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah. All right. This is time for questions. There were some in the chat. Some are not up. All right. Hear them. On the phone, please type your questions. I don't think we should unmute everybody so that everybody talks at once. I don't know if that's. Oh, there we are. Can you drive at all for them, or we still want them delivered, Michelle? The question from Derek is, rather than mail the packet to him, no, Derek, we're going to get it to you. We're not on the Google Drive. They're actually paper copies of grant applications, so you have to scan everything and then we just have to scan it, and they would have to print it if you wanted to. So to you by mail or by hand deliver, somebody sees you, Linda, we can just drop it off if you're with us. All right. Which box are for the text and which are for the points?
The X's and then there's a box at the top, the actual total points for that section. I'm talking about the scoring.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so you'll see, if you look on the actual scoring rubric that we sent to you, there's a box at the top of each consideration section. It'll say points awarded, 5 points are possible, and then there's a line. So you would just put 4 or 5 points for that.
Let me go back to the screen.
You want to go? Yeah. Okay. And there's the lines next to our criteria.
So for the scoring rubric, right, this is for the total, right? And this is for checking things off. And if you want to put numbers next to that, right? I don't know how to, but this is what the number really matters up here as your total points awarded for that particular consideration. All right, okay. Any more questions from the virtual people? Questions?
I have a question. What's next after you receive the completed rubric? Is there, I guess when will the awards be announced, or are we still working those details out?
The awards will be announced in May, but we still have a process where we still have to go take all of the scores and average them out and make sure that they meet the criteria. The passing score is 70%. And we will see awards based on not just readers, but we also have the Workforce Development Board. They are also reading, the applications for alignment with the local plan. So all that is in consideration. We'll have a consensus.
We have multiple readers for each grantee, so not just one person is reading one grantee. And when we receive the rubric back, something has gone a little bit off, like the 2 or 3 readers have exceeded it, and so drastically, we might ask for a phone call to talk with folks about other things to consensus on that. So, yeah, we don't have any official meetings set up. We'll just do that on as-needed basis if we see a deviation in scoring. Is that helpful? Anyone in the room? Bob is taking all questions and distributing them evenly throughout our office. No, she is the receiver of all questions, so if you do have questions, away. Also, talk to folks in this group if you have questions on this information. I'm happy to walk you through it if you need more detail on that as well.
Okay, and given you a month to go through these, we mentioned that you read the RFP first and be familiar with that. And if you have any questions regarding the RFP, you should contact us immediately. That as you are reading the application, you have to reference the RFP. So if you read it, making notes on the RFP, highlight. So any question you have about that, I think it's important to contact us immediately. Then start to read. And then you feel free to call us or to email us with the questions that you're reading.
We will give you a copy of every single part of the RFP paper today.
So it's a lot of paper, and we're hoping we don't frighten you once you the volume of paper it is. We've also done this in the office every year, not the competitive, but continuation grant. We would estimate it takes at least 1 full day per application. There are some that are more complicated that you have to go back and look for things. That's based on how a person has been the application. Some people follow directions. Others have to look for information. So in that case, we've noticed that we might spend 2 days on a grant.
How many applications?
We have 26 applications. We have distributed for the readers to have 3 to 4 applications to read. We were to give you only 3, but we didn't get enough readers. So most people have 4. I'd also like to say, as you are going through the process during the month, if you find that you're running out of time, please let us know right away so that we can get applications from you and give it to someone else to read.
We have a backup.
Yeah, so we have a couple backups, but they were people who could only read one, so we didn't put on our team. So they're here. We have them as we look for backup. So don't feel uncomfortable about that. If it gets to be just, let us know.
So how many people are reading each application?
I think the 3.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the one.
In the comments, just so I can know as I'm thinking about my comments, do we go out to the grantees? Like, those who maybe don't.
I'm glad you asked the question. We do rely on the comments. The comments back up the scores. I've been in cases where we have denied an application and we report we have the personal report as why their application did not meet the standards.
Comments by the
Not necessarily. If you feel that there is something that you have to say in order to make your score for us, I would suggest that you make this.
The question related to, confidentiality of your name as a reviewer?
No, just
Okay.
how I would say it. Yeah, you know, I mean, so of course there's a difference between just like reminding yourself, like, oh, this doesn't seem strong, or it doesn't connect to maybe you're using, you know, I don't know.
Guys, can you, the mic's up here, just a reminder.
Yeah, I was asking if our comment will be presented in any kind of public forum, I guess, not particularly because of a connection to my name, but more of how I would present the comment, so make sure that I'm just complete sentences and, you know, making sense the whole time, and not just, you know, giving myself a little reminder or giving you all a little tip, like, you know, of something that I saw. So, I was asking for that reason.
I have a comment or question. For some people, we need it hard copy back, but we can send it electronically if you want to type in, if you don't write so clearly, so clearly. There's a few people in. So if you need that electronically, just email me directly. I can shoot you the document and go with a hard copy back. We don't want them back in an email. Yeah. So just to address Derek's question about he couldn't hear, the comments are not required for each section. It's just as you see comments necessary for the section. If you feel that the grantee has completed everything in its time, it's not necessary to comment, but if there's something else, please do. We need that. Any other questions or comments? This is going to be sort of fast. Like Melissa said, a recording of this will be sent out to you automatically from WebEx. So, but I will also send it to everyone that way, so you have it as a resource. Anything to add from folks? No? Thank you very much for agreeing to refresh. We appreciate it. Oh, yes. Yes, I can send it again. I think I sent it yesterday, but I'll make sure I resend it to you, Derek. Yeah, I can resend the PowerPoint to anybody who needs it, because it's just so full of it. All right. We thank you for your time. Any other questions? All right, and I'm done. If there's not, I put it on the line. I'm going to stop recording and log out, just so you know. Thank you guys for your time.